I don't like that I feel compelled to make this video, but the fact that I am making it should tell you how serious I am. I think Kid Omega might be one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. Full stop. Kid Omega is a 2/1 that has an activate ability that destroys the next card you play this turn, meaning the turn you activate the ability, in order to gain its power. Now, this might not look like an incredibly, overwhelmingly powerful card, but in practice, what it has done is unlock the potential of the Nimrod deck in order to make it into what feels to me like a genuine metagame powerhouse. I don't want to overstate this. I really hope that I'm wrong, but I had about an 80% win rate with the deck in top 20 all the way up to top 10. I then gave the deck to one of my friends, Browde, who had about a 65% win rate with the deck, gaining about 80 cubes in a similar space in Infinite. This feels like something that is legitimately a little messed up. And this is the list. The basic idea here is that this is to play the metagame role of Hela. If you are trying to do something reasonably fair, and you happen to run into someone who is doing this, you're just going to lose the game. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can make that happen. The Kid Omega stuff is obviously quite solid. You have your Kid Omega Nimrod stuff, you have a Galacta to buff the Nimrod, you have, of course, a Shuri to buff the Nimrod even further, but beyond that, there are plays that involve Kid Omega eating a Shuri'd Black Panther and then elixiring back the Black Panther, getting an additional proc of Black Panther. There's the traditional symbiote Spider-Man into Black Panther into Arnim Zola combo in here. There is symbiote Spider-Man into Nimrod into Arnim Zola. Your worst game plan is basically multiple 9-power Nimrods flying around the board on the final turn of the game. That's your worst plan. What this has done is add a better plan A to a deck that already had a wide complement of plans B, C, and D. It is just stat checking people right now. There are things that you can do about this. You can do things like Red Guardian Kid Omega. That'll go a long way. Juggernaut and Cosmo are good against the more telegraphed backup plans that this deck has. Shadow King to shrink stuff, very impactful. But right now especially, this deck is farming. And I think some of that is due to the release of Nightmare. Nightmare has absolutely no answers for this deck whatsoever. This deck just does more points, it demands interaction, Nightmare doesn't have any interaction, and so it just falls apart. This is not an unbeatable deck, but what I worry about is the presence of this deck atop the metagame. Much of what Hela does that is bad is not related to the RNG casino nature of it, but is much more related to the fact that it invalidates a vast amount of mid-range decks. Now granted, there are more cards that are good into this than otherwise would exist into Hela. Hela has a problem of not having a lot that you can do to adjust your mid-range deck to beat it. This deck you can do stuff about, but I'm not exactly sure how impactful all that stuff is. And right now, I think it's much better to be on the side of the people asking the questions than the people who have to answer them. If you are going to drop 50 power in every lane and it's up to your opponent to answer it, that's just good for you. I realize that it's impossible to have a conversation about Kid Omega without talking about the elephants in the room. This card is 9,000 gold minus however many volts you are able to get. Yes, I paid 9,000 gold for him. Yes, I think this deck is very good. Yes, I would say that constitutes some amount of pay to win in this game. I really can't get around that at this point. I feel basically like I'm one of the only people who is allowed to own Hela. That is what playing this deck feels like. It is likely not going to be permanently the best deck to do anything with. It is definitely the strongest deck I've played this season, but a lot of that is down to metagame positioning and the metagame being sort of ripe for a deck like this existing. I still think that Kid Omega probably has to get nerfed. I realize it's very early to say that, and I'm typically someone who pushes against that as much as possible. But I do think that this is, if not good enough, at least obnoxious enough in much the same way Hela was, that this card needs to be seriously looked at. And I don't want to get into what I know will be in the comments section, which is, oh, I bet they knew this and put it as the prize because of this. I debated about making this video for two reasons. The first is that I don't really want to make a video that tells people go spend 9,000 gold on a card. I just don't feel good about that. The second is I fear it could inflame things even more in terms of how this situation is playing out. But honestly, I did so well with this deck that I don't think I have a choice. So with that said, let's jump into the card by card breakdown. Kid Omega is the crux of a lot of this deck's game plans. Your two main game plans involve giant Nimrods, which Kid Omega can get you extra procs on, and of course the giant Black Panther into Elixir game plan, which is also very powerful. Kid Omega is notably weak to Red Guardian, which is a very good card against this deck to blow this guy up. Fundamentally, though, what this guy is doing is pretty good against a lot of the other things that people will be playing in order to deal with this kind of stuff. He doesn't get Cosmoed, and it's hard to armor him because you don't know exactly where the thing he's blowing up is going to go. This is a card that has a ton of power attached to it. The best way I think I can explain it is to say that this is a destroy version of Aranya if Aranya also copied Human Torch's power. It is very, very good. This is a card that will very often be in the double digits on its own, and you don't even care about that most of the time. This will be a 15 power card, and it will not matter that it has been a 15 power card because you will have simply done so much elsewhere that it was basically just an activate destroy. I genuinely think this card could not have the gain power text at all and still be good. He makes stuff go boom. Carnage is here in order to trigger Nimrods. That's really all he's doing here. There are other smaller ball versions of Kid Omega stuff. None of them, I think, are as worth investigating as this because of the metagame positioning that we talked about. If you can be Hela, it's a really good thing to be if everyone is playing mid-range. Having all these destroy procs in order to send 12 power Nimrods everywhere is obviously ridiculous. Very, very powerful. Exactly what you want from a card like this. Extreme flex slot here. I just wanted something that added power and sometimes discounted. Not like a particularly important part of this deck. Definitely something that you can look for a better option than if you feel the need to. I've enjoyed her, but I don't really feel like she's a core part of this in any meaningful way. She's just there to make things a little bit easier when you need them to be a little bit easier. Elixir is pretty solid here. Since Quentin Quire, Kid Omega, allows things that are large to be blown up on 5, Elixir on the final turn of the game is really, really cool, right? Like, if you blow up a Black Panther, it'll blow up and retain its stats in the graveyard. So if you then Elixir it back to the board, it'll keep those stats and then double again. And so you can do things like put the stats from a Black Panther onto a Kid Omega and then play an even bigger Black Panther off of Elixir. That's just strong. Like, this is a card that is played for 50 points for me occasionally. Like, I've gotten 24 power Black Panther back. That goes to 48. This is 3. 51 points off my 2-drop. It's not that simple, obviously, but it does happen. He also makes Nimrods go boom. That's really what he's here to do. A lot of your other stuff, like, this is not a deck that's really going to be able to make Elixir work without Kid Omega, right? Like, it just doesn't have that kind of time unless your opponent is willing to do things like play a magic for you. This is definitely here just for the Nimrod backup plan, but it's a really potent backup plan. When you think about how this deck is set up, you have plan A of, Kid Omega some Nimrods, which obviously this plays well with. Plan B of, Kid Omega a Panther and then Elixir it back. Plan C of, Panther Zola with, a Symbiote Spider-Man. Plan D of, let's say your baseline, Shuri, Nimrod, Carnage, Venom, right? And he's an important part of a couple of those plans. I think the best way to think about this deck is just it's 4 combos in a trench coat, and so anything that's part of multiple combo plans, you really care about that. And Venom is part of multiple. She makes Nimrods bigger, she makes Black Panthers bigger, she's excellent. If you manage to get a surge discount onto either her or Symbiote Spider-Man, keep in mind that you can sometimes go X4 on a Nimrod. If you have a Symbiote Spider-Man, you play a Shuri in the Symbiote Spider-Man lane, you activate the Symbiote Spider-Man, it'll be ×2 and then ×2, 24 power Nimrod. Very strong thing to do. Kind of like a less restrictive Shuri. A lot of the time, well, not a lot of the time, but enough of the time you're going to be I don't really want to let them know where my lanes are going to be for this Nimrod, or alternatively, I'm going to Zola this Black Panther, so I need to play off of it. Even something like Galacta Black Panther Zola, that's 32 power Black Panthers, right? Because it starts at 5, goes to 8, goes to 16, you Zola the Panther lane, and obviously you can't have a Shuri in the Panther lane if you're playing to Zola it, so you just do this instead. It's a little bit worse, but it allows the line to actually function. And when I say this deck has a bunch of combos and a trench coat, that's what I mean. A mid-range deck that doesn't necessarily have an answer to that stuff is just going to get stat checked. Much like Surge, Iron Lad is just sort of here to be here, but I think he's a lot better than Surge because he effectively represents an additional draw into the deck. One of the things that Iron Lad gives you is a lot of situations that will come down to a 25%er and then a 33%er. So you're 25% to top deck the card you need, and then Iron Lad is 33% to hit the card you need. And that's just really good. I can't express how often it feels like this deck is just randomly in games. It feels like the worst we ever get to is just oh, it's a 50-50 on something. And that's a really powerful thing to have in your back pocket. I'm not saying the deck never loses, but it does have just a bunch of different ways to make things happen. Being one card off and having a decent chance at getting that card, Iron Lad is worth it for me. One of the only negative interactions in the deck is that, as far as I am aware, you cannot Kid Omega a card that you merge into this, because it has to be played in order to merge into this. And all the rest of this stuff sort of seamlessly flows together, but that is one that is worth mentioning. You cannot, play a Nimrod, activate this, and then activate Kid Omega hoping to do that. It just doesn't work that way. All of that said, it's a critical part of obviously, the Panther lines when you were trying to do that stuff, and just getting to 13 power Nimrods, you can Zola that. That sends 26 power to the other locations. Black Panther is part of 2 of your combo lines, the first being the Elixir line, and the second being the big Zola Panther line. This is very much of a role player here, but I think what's really important about this is that Kid Omega gives this deck a better plan A, which allows these other things to be better relegated to their correct role as plan C or plan D or things like that. And I think that's where this stuff can really shine. Where people, especially right now, are just playing a bunch of Nightmare stuff that has no answers, or Arishem Thanos stuff that has no answers, and you just do things that are bigger than they can ever possibly fathom. Nimrod's been absolutely excellent. If you have a choice of any of the lines, my preferred lines are always Nimrod because they are just so incredibly difficult to disrupt. This is a card that can carry buffs incredibly well, whether that be the Symbiote Spider-Man taking it up to 13, a Shuri taking it up to 12, a Galacta taking it up to 9, or some combination of those things. All of them are very easily multiplied by Kid Omega, Venom, Carnage, and Arnim Zola. Zola's cool, but I do feel like maybe he's card 9 or 10 here, where like, yeah, Surge is maybe a little bit more obviously of a swap out, but Zola is really like the card that I can see not necessarily always making the cut here. That said, I mean, as long as people are playing Nightmare stuff without real interaction and you can actually win games off of Panther Zola stuff, you should take those free wins while you have them. I'm recording this pretty early in the morning, early enough that I can't really tell whether or not my camera is messing up or if it's a trick of the light because I'm just that tired. So I'm going to be like as blunt as possible in an attempt to get my point across about this. I am very afraid that the comments of this video are going to be an absolute cesspool because I totally understand how much it sucks that this card is probably very good. I fully understand that that puts Second Dinner in a position where I'm not sure there's any good outcomes. If this card is good enough that it has to get nerfed, and then the people that bought it are going to be mad, and then the people that weren't able to buy it are going to be mad, there's just layers and layers and layers here. I really honestly feel like I didn't want to make this video, but I climbed 200 SP on a deck with an 80% win rate. How am I supposed to not tell you guys about that? And that's sort of ultimately where I came down on this, where it was just like, I guess I should let people know that this is what's happening, and it seems pretty messed up to me. Because this deck seems good, and I hate it, and I really don't want it to exist in the future. So, as always, I've been KMBest. We're going to jump into some gameplay right now. I hope you enjoy it, or at least find it in your heart to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. If it helps, we had Kid Omega, shill-y, Nimrod. So, you're fucking outrageously dead. Danae, thank you for the prime. Gifting a sub to myself. Nice. This is easily one of the more fucked up things we've done today. I just snapped into Pixie Nightmare. Like, no cap, for real, snapped into Pixie Nightmare. There's a bunch of shit they could do. What is this? Hazmat? Okay. Like, it's losable. It's just like, I don't know how likely it is for me to fucking lose when I'm about to get 25 power in the mid lane and then bring back 50 somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's losable. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's not fucking losable, but like... whack! So we have like two lines here. We're gonna take this one because it's hysterical. Okay, we wasted our power. We got the wrong location. We're probably gonna lose now. Shang Crossbones. Oh, well, we win a tiebreaker. Sorry, dude. Fucking 58. My bad. They got Shang Crossbones, we win the game. The fuck is this? The fuck is this? I mean, it's over, right? We have Kid Omega, a buffer, and an Imrod. It's over. Thanks. Oh, is that better? So that's like 8 trillion power in the middle. Could be Carnage, so we don't necessarily want to play it. Carnage or Venom would leave this as a stronger lane, though. Carnage or Venom or Zola. Yeah. What up? It's 48 power. Is 73 a lot? Boy. Yeah, I actually think he's broken. I don't know if it's like broken, but it feels like hella at the very least. Where it's like, it might not be broken, but it's stat checking in really obnoxious ways. Did you get the hood? I did. That had gold on it, that shit showed up immediately. I don't know. Well, they could have, like, Cosmo shit, right? They have, like, Cosmo Juggernaut shit. I have bad news for them. They lose every location. Behold, the most balanced Marvel Snap deck of all time. Holy shit. Wait, how do I order this? Well, seems good to me. Seems good to me. That's cool. That's one word for it. Oh shit. I get to like do things? That's fucking baller. No one has Elixir and no one has Kid Omega. What up? I mean, I'm gonna stay. The problem is I can't win the left. Wait, no, I have an Omniversal. Hold on. Works! Look at that. Look at that. We bullshitted our way out. They would have won the middle. Okay. Husky with the raid. What's going on, Husky? I'm gonna snap back. Cam, alignment chart of snap decks. I think that's a really good question, actually. Oh, God. Do I want to elixir here and 50-50 it off this Zola? Wait, I can Carnage here? Oh. I mean, sick. Works for me, dude. Surely there's no such thing as Shang Jeff, right? Omega Black Panther elixir stuff. Is that just strong enough? Do I just not give enough of a shit? A lot of fucking stats. You got a Shang? Because I'm going big. Big Giganto, I'm with you. Here's the problem. Like, genuinely, the problem with that Giganto, it's actually too small. $55. Just casseroled Giganto Infinite. Little... See, like that. That just straight up kills me, right? I'm not buying Phoenix Force Zabu. What I'm wondering about is, like, putting a Nimrod Kid Omega shit in, like, a mid-range shell. Is this deck as scary as I thought? Yup. My god, is it ever. Okay, this combination totally shits on me. I've baked in the 1 cube loss here. So I basically don't have anything worth drawing here. So it's going to have to be their cards, and their cards probably aren't good. Does this win? They have all sorts of weird shit. My Zola So this could be 13. They Carnage over here and then play a 4, right? They Carnage and then play Iron Lad left. I'm literally goated. I'm literally actually goated.